Imagine walking 20 kilometers a day just to get to school and back. Imagine walking 2 hours each morning and afternoon in the wet and cold weather or the extreme heat of summer just to get to school and back. That would be like walking from Middleton Beach to the Lower King store and back each day just to get to school. This was the reality of a little girl called Rhea, who used to walk up to 2 hours a day just to get to school and back. I had the privilege of meeting Rhea last year when giving her one of the biggest gifts she's ever received, a brand new bicycle. Today, I want to talk to you about a concept I like to call the adventure bicycle. While it's a play on the word bicycle, the adventure bicycle plays a big part in our own life-changing adventures. In fact, the adventure bicycle is deeply ingrained in my vision of changing lives one adventure at a time. Just like a normal bicycle, the adventure bicycle consists of two wheels. The front wheel is about changing lives, while the back wheel is life-changing. Let me say that again. The front wheel is about changing the lives of the people and the communities that you connect with, while the back wheel is about life-changing experiences for the adventurer. See, the front wheel is about changing lives through education, employment, and empowerment, while the back wheel is about life-changing experiences that enables the adventurer to reflect, reset, and reconnect. So I want to share with you a story of my own adventure in October last year that helps you see the adventure bicycle in action. This was a 7-day life-changing adventure called Uhambo. Uhambo is the Zulu word for journey, and Zulu is one of the official languages in South Africa. On the first 3 days of this adventure, the focus was on changing the lives of 60 school students, just like Rhea. These students often walk long distances just to get to school and back. And when they're walking long distances, they often get exhausted and often don't attend school on a regular basis. In fact, most of these students would drop out of school before they get to year 12. And when they don't finish school, they're not able to find good employment, and they're not empowered to make a positive difference in their world. And unfortunately, when they can't find good employment, they will take away from the environment just to survive. That may be poaching wild animals just to get food, or in extreme cases, poaching elephants and rhinos to make money. See, in this complex world we live in, everything is interconnected. The life cycle of change is a long chain of interconnected events. And when you can make a positive change in the chain, it can lead to much bigger, larger, long-term impact. But the opposite is also true. When there's a small break in the chain, this can lead to long-term negative impacts. So for students like Rhea, when they receive a brand new bicycle, their 2-hour journey becomes a 40-minute bike ride to school. But more importantly, they are more likely to stay in school, actually finishing school, furthering their education, getting better employment, and being empowered to take on life. I'd like to share with you a letter that we received from one of the principals from one of the schools we delivered 40 bicycles 2 years ago. This school was situated in a region called Limpopo, South Africa. The principal wrote, "It looked like a small issue when we received those bicycles, but little did we know that the whole school would be energized and encouraged to work harder. The ripple effects of the donation have been amazing. In 2020, Grade 12 results improved dramatically. We moved from a 36% pass rate in 2019 to an 84% pass rate in 2020. How amazing is that testimony? Of all the schools that have received bicycles, we consistently see that overall attendance improves by an average of 25%, and overall academic performance improves by 15%. All this is part of the front wheel of the adventure bicycle, because changing lives starts with education. Education is the most valuable gift you can give anyone, because it's through education that leads to better employment and eventually gives empowerment to make a positive difference in this life. One of my favorite moments in the adventure was the handing over of the bicycles. The life-changing impact to the students is instant, but the smiles on their faces is unforgettable. Here's a couple of photos of me helping Rhea ride the bicycle for the very first time. What amazed me the most was the attitude of this little girl. She was resilient, determined to learn to ride this new bicycle. In fact, not once did I hear her complain about not being able to do this or that it was too hard. Instead, she asked me to keep going and promising me that she will learn to ride this bicycle any moment now. Her friends were cheering her on. The students were cheering her on. The whole community was cheering her on. While I was helping her, I asked her, "Rhea, what do you want to be one day when you grow up?" And her answer gave me goosebumps. Rhea wants to become a social worker to help others in need. This little girl, who don't have much herself, wants to one day grow up to help others. And now, she is better set up because she has easier, safer access to school. She will be able to finish school, go to university, become a social worker, but more importantly, be empowered to make a positive difference in her community. All part of the front wheel of the adventure bicycle. But let's move to the back wheel. Life-changing experiences that enables you to reset, reflect, and reconnect. See, when you've experienced something like delivering the bicycles, spending time with the students and learning about their world, and being immersed in the community that is so different to yours, your perspective on life is reset. When you are taken out of your comfort zone and put in a world that is so different to yours, your perspective on life is reset. So on the fourth day of this adventure, we left the bicycle drop and we embarked on a 4-day hiking safari in the Kruger National Park. See, when you spend 4 days in nature or in the bushveld, walking, eating, and sleeping in the bush, you are forced to slow down and reflect on the experience you've just had with the bicycles. You are given the space to think and think about how your world is so different to the world you've just seen. And the silence in the bush is amazing. For some, slowing down and embracing the silence is uncomfortable at first, but you soon realize just how much you needed this. See, when you spend 4 days in nature, your senses are overwhelmed by the sights and sounds of the wilderness, but it's so much better than the noise of the urban jungle. When you have spent 4 days in the bush, you have the space and time to slow down, pause, and reflect. Here's a photo of us sleeping in the middle of the Kruger National Park. I want you to imagine sleeping in your tent at night under the stars, being woken at 3 a.m. by the sounds of a roaring lion, and then tracking and finding him the next morning. I want you to imagine lying in your tent at night, listening to the hippos as they're grazing in the early evening. I want you to imagine not having to rush to your next deadline. Or I want you to imagine not having to react and respond to all the messages that come on your phone from work and from friends and from marketing, but instead having the space and time to slow down, pause, and reflect. Spending 4 days in nature is life-changing because you have the time to pause and reflect. And then, on the 7th day, as you re-enter the world, you are ready to reconnect. But this time, reconnecting with what's important. See, when you've had the time to experience something like the bicycle drop, and your perspective on life has been reset, and you've had the time to spend in nature, slowing down, pause and reflect, you are ready to reconnect, but this time with what is important in your life. I want you to think about what your adventure bicycle looks like. I want you to think about when is your next life-changing adventure. We can all do it. You can do it. It doesn't have to be something big. It doesn't have to be somewhere far away. It could be here in the amazing Great Southern region, or somewhere in Australia, or somewhere unique in the world. But why not make your next adventure life-changing while changing lives? Because together, we can all change lives one adventure at a time. Thank you.